So title page of what we are going to do today, and we will move, with you know all knowledge and strength in order to understand everything that we'll be discussing. And it's JavaScript fundamentals, and JavaScript is the bedrock of so many solutions we are seeing today. And when I say bedrock, from JavaScript we have a number of front end frameworks and library. So from JavaScript we have the React, we have Angular. So a React is not to be a library. It's not a framework. Angular is a framework. I think Vue.js is also a framework. So, and the same, and all these are for the front end development. And for back end development, we have the Node.js, which uses the Express.js as framework. Then we also have Nest.js, N-A-S-T. So you can see that JavaScript has given birth to so many frameworks, and those frameworks have given birth to so many challenging uh, applications all over the world. And currently, I'm sure you all know that Facebook is majorly written using React, and also Instagram, and some parts of WhatsApp. The WhatsApp web is written with React. So everything boils down to the basics. And there is a saying that if you want to cut a tree, it's better you sharpen the knife for probably 30 minutes and cut the tree once than to use a dead knife or a dead cutlass to keep cutting. So when you use a dead cutlass to cut, at the end of the day, you are going to be the one that will be tired. So it means that the farther you want to go, the deeper you have to dig. And this is the depth that we are talking about as JavaScript. So I hope we are all glad to be in this class and to learn the JavaScript fundamentals. So do a thumbs up as we move forward. Okay, thank you, Amon. All right, so what are the areas we are going to cover? We talk about introduction to JavaScript. We'll talk about the control flow and error handling. We'll also talk about functions and scope, arrays and objects. Yeah, these are fundamental topics which I believe we'll be able to complete within the little time frame that we have. All right, so let's move the third slide. So introduction to JavaScript. Yeah, we are going to cover the JavaScript fundamentals in this section, and we'll set up our development environment and dive into core concepts like variables, data types, and operators. The foundation will set you up to write basic JavaScript code and understand how the language operates. So we are laying foundations. Now let's just talk a bit about the history of JavaScript. JavaScript was created by Brendan H. in 1995. In just 10 days while he was working at Netscape. Netscape is, I'm not sure if Netscape is still there. It's one of the biggest IT companies, in those days. So initially, it was designed for basic web interaction. JavaScript was actually meant to handle client-side logic, client-side interactivity. That was the basic reason why JavaScript was created. But as time goes on, we have technology evolved, and now we can say that JavaScript can be used on both the front end and the back end. So, and JavaScript has become a core technology alongside with HTML and CSS. We all know what HTML is, hypertext markup language, and CSS is a cascading style sheet. So when you have your website or web pages, and you want the pages to be interactive, you want to trigger events like when you click on a button, it will show some spinners. When you click on something, it will disappear and appear somewhere else. And all of those front-end effects are handled using JavaScript. So right from time, JavaScript goes along with HTML and CSS. Now, I've mentioned that great applications have been developed making use of JavaScript frameworks. And JavaScript basically is meant to make your web page interactive. The UI UX we normally hear, UI UX and all those would not be have been effective without JavaScript. Because the UI UX will design and show you, okay, when you click on this, this is the design that you're going to have. When you click on that, this is the design you're going to have. At the end of the day, if you don't have a framework or a programming language that can make those prototypes look the way it should look, then it will all amount to nothing. So also on the server side, I've mentioned that JavaScript, we use the Node.js, to handle the backend services. And also in gaming too, we use JavaScript alongside with WebGL. In mobile development, we use JavaScript alongside with React Native to develop mobile applications, which will which would even work on the two popular mobile platforms. That's iOS and Android. So you can see how powerful JavaScript is. And okay, let's move on. How does JavaScript work? JavaScript is an interpreted language that runs in the browser. So, I've mentioned client side, more than once or twice now. So it means that JavaScript was actually meant for as a client side scripting language. But now it has been also used on the server that's using Node.js. So it's a single threaded language. What it means is that it can handle only one task at a time. Unlike some other programming languages like C Sharp or C++, Java, JavaScript is a single-threaded language. That means it can only handle one task at a time. It's also event-driven. Now, there are a lot of times when you're on the website, you want to click, you over on a button. The button will change background color. Those are are affected by JavaScript. So when you are sending an event, on an errand. Now, okay, when I on mouse over, so we have a number of events like that on mouse over, on click. So on click, when you click, an event will be triggered. So all those triggering of events, they are affected using JavaScript. So it helps the user to interact well with your website, and that is the core of the user experience. So now let's set up an environment. I'm sure a number of us are already familiar with IDE, that's the editor. So let me know the editor you use. Do I have people using VS Code? Use VS Code. Let me know what editor do you use. Type it on the chat section. Okay, so VS Code. So VS Code is actually highly recommended, in terms of the best IDE, because some of us, we saw what we were able to achieve the last time during the React, basic React, the invoice generation app. So, but there are a lot of other ways we can actually work on JavaScript. One way is to use the Chrome. Let me see. Now I'm on Chrome. So when you're on Chrome, do a right click and click on Inspect. So when you click on Inspect, you can click Console. All right. So when you click Console, you have something that looks like terminal here. I hope you all can see this. You see that blinking bar. So look like terminal. So you can actually write your JavaScript, you can code inside of it. So if you say console dot log hello world, let's have hello world. All right. So uh, let's run it. Am I missing something? Okay. So just all you just need to do is the enter button. Just click on enter button. So you can see hello world. So it means that you can actually use your browser as an IDE to run JavaScript uh, codes or syntax. All right. So another way you can achieve that is to use uh, the console tab. Console tab. Yeah, I think we already use the browser console tab. So let's see other ways we can use the Visual Studio. So let's try and use the Visual Studio now. I'll create something new. All right. So go to timing. Okay. First, let me open a folder. I'll create a folder here. Let me go ahead and create a new folder and name it training. Okay. So I have the training folder here. So I'll open the training folder. And inside the training folder, I can create index.js. I just say index.js. Okay. So inside of index.js, I can say console.log and put in hello world. Right. How do I run it? So I click on the terminal, and you have to be sure that you have a Node.js installed. So just say node, and what's the name of the file? That's index.js, and enter. You can see the result, hello world. That's another way to run your JavaScript code. And the last one is, sorry. So the last way is to, I think I have a lot of tabs opened here. All right, so I have a whole lot of tabs open here. Okay. All right, I'm back. So now this is another one. That's the online platform. We have online JavaScript compiler. My choice has always been this Programmist. So I'll copy the link and send to you now. Can you all see that link? If you have seen the link, let me just see your let me see a response. Um, okay. Yeah, thank you. So I believe everyone has seen the link. So that is a free platform. Great. That's a free platform where you can write your code. When you click on it, you should have something like this. You should have something like this. So with this, you don't have any issues in, about how about installing something before your JavaScript can run. So you can just write your console dot. But currently, you can run what we have there. Also.log. This is JavaScript class. Click on run. Yeah, you're going to have the output immediately. So it's a very convenient platform to write your code and to get it compiled, without any worries, without any reason to worry. So let's move to All right, so let's move back to our to the slide. All right, so we have set up our environment. So let's all agree that we are going to use the online compiler. It's a bit faster to use, and it's we'll be able to achieve a lot and see for ourselves how those codes are running. And you can also try it from your hand, whatever we try here. So the first thing I want to mention about JavaScript is that is the comment aspect of it. So every uh, programming language has a room for you to make comments inside of the code. And one advantage of making comments inside of the code is that it makes the code readable and it prevents certain codes from being executed. So the ones you've commented, they don't run. Those codes do not run with the on the compiler. Then another reason is that if you are probably collaborating with someone who is still trying to get his feet or her feet in programming, you might want to leave a comment for him or her. So if it's a single line comment, you use a double forward slash. If it's a multi-line comment, you make it a forward slash and a star, and you type in your multiple lines. So in that case, let's try on this. So you want to probably tell someone that this this line, this syntax, or this outputs the hello world. So and you now have console.log hello world. All right. So this has been commented out. It's a single line comment. So we don't expect this to show in the output. So let's try to run. When you run, you discover that it does not show on the output. Let me see if I can make it bigger. So can you see it clearer now? A bit more, much clearer. Are we together? Okay. All right. So okay. Okay. I need to even scroll. Yeah, you've been dropping messages. So let's move forward. Let's move forward. So we have single line comments, we have multi-line comments. So let's try the multi-line comment here. When you say the comment still continues, continues. You discover that the comment still continues. The single line, the double bar here does not cover for this. So for you to cover for it, you need to make it a single. I mean, the forward slash with the star. Then you come down here and you put a star and forward slash. With that, you are able to achieve the multi-line comments. And when you run your code, it's not going to show comments. So this has justified the fact that sometimes we need to put comments so that if we have a collaborator and is wants to know why is this code here, what is it meant for, you can actually put the comment there to show that it's this is what it's for. So now in JavaScript we have what we call variables. We have the lets, we have the const. So you know what variable does? It stores data and values that can be used and modified in your code. So the var, let, and const they look alike, but they do different things. They are all variables, but they have different properties. Now, when you say var is a function scope is functionally scoped. That means it can be redeclared and updated. And here it says it's older and generally avoided due to potential issues. So the issue with VAR is that when you say VAR is 5, you can still say VAR is 10. Okay, let's just come here and say uh, variable. Let's give it a name. Variable name equals to let me use Mike. Yeah, variable name is Mike, right? And you say variable name is Marian. Okay. Now let's console log name. Now, what is the expectation? You can see it's Marian. Now, there's an issue with this code, and I hope you agree with me that there is an issue because there's an integrity issue with this code. A name cannot be two, cannot have two uh, values. It's either you are Mike or you are Marian. But VAR declaration of variable causes a lot of issues. That is why we have the let and the const. Now, looking at the let, the let is block scoped. So where VAR can be redeclared and be updated, the let can be cannot be redeclared or can be updated. Now, the reason why it is block scoped is because it's used inside of if. When you say if something is let's do something now. Let's do something now. Let's say okay, let name be equal to Mike. So that's the if name equals to Mike, then console.log this is correct. All right. So when you run it, yeah, it shows this is correct. That means name is equal to Mike. When you now say let's name be equal to Marianne, what is it going to give us? Can somebody give me a tip of what is this going to output? Okay, okay. Actually, we're going to go deep into it. We're already going deep into this. I just want to give us a brief of what the difference. So if you run it, it's not going to give any. Uh, now it has been declared here. Let name be what? Be Mike. I said if name equals to Mike, you say this is correct. Now you can see that it cannot be redeclared. If it has been redeclared, it will inherit this. It will inherit Miriam, and it will say it's not correct. So now let's do something. Let me bring out this. Let name be this, and let us do it the way we did the variable. You can see that there's a problem. You have already declared name as Mike, and you declared name again as what? Marian. There's going to be a problem. So it says identifier name has already been declared. So you can see that that has a bit of integrity, unlike blank. Yeah. So but this time around is going to be it's going to throw error because you can only do that with VAR. And if I may ask you, if you had to write your code, would you prefer to uh, VAR to const? So let me see your comments. Would you prefer VAR or you prefer let? You have to write your code. Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. Some said VAR, some said let's. Okay. So then let's go back. So now for those of you that said VAR, that chose VAR, I'll say you are wrong. The reason why you are wrong is that you don't want to declare a variable and give it another name. Like Israel, your name is Israel. Now, if you go somewhere else and someone say, okay, your name is John, you will say, no, my name is not John, my name is Israel. That is what let's will give you. So if you are trying to change the name of a person, it will tell you that there is an error. So what it means is that let will make you have stability. But VAR will take anything. Imagine you are somewhere, they said, are you Mike? Yes. You get somewhere again, you said, are you Marian? Say yes. Such code will not be stable and there'll be a problem. So do you now agree with me that VAR uh, VAR is not the best? So let name be. So instead of let's use VAR, use VAR. At the end of the day, it's going to work. It's going to work because assumed to it has assumed to. Imagine you are developing a bank application, and your the balance of the customer is $20, and you now have another place that the balance of the customer is $20,000, and your application runs successfully. That's going to cause catastrophe. I hope you understand. Yeah, because you say the balance is $20, you can't also give another balance to it. So that's why you don't always find it, you don't always find VAR in quotes. So let's quickly move on. I still have a lot to share. So the next one is const, and const means that if you declare a variable using const, you can never change that value. And remember, in the school, you learned area of a circle is pi r squared, where pi is 3.142. Has pi changed all this while? Let me ask you. Has pi changed from 3.142? Yes or no? All right. No, pi has not changed. So any variable great. So any variable that does not change, that's what you use const for. So it's a constant. So let's use const here. Const name is that. Now, of course, when you say something is constant, you cannot give it another value. So when you say pi is 3.142, and you say pi is 45. So console log, let's do a console log for pi, and let's see if it's a true error or not. So I remove this from here. The console log pi. So what value are we looking at? 3.142. Now you can see that it sticks to the fourth value because that's the original value of. Oh no, it's supposed to throw error. So let's do this. Aha, it will throw error because the identifier pi has already been declared. So you cannot declare constant twice. That's why I said it cannot be updated and cannot be redeclared. And it requires an initial value. So let's move on. I think we've done all of this. So this one variable name Alice can be redeclared. We declared it the other time, it wasn't showing error. Now you can see let age 30 cannot be redeclared because when we did a redeclaration for a let the other time, it threw error, right? And also this guy const city New York cannot be changed once it has been assigned. So that is why when you are trying to change the value of this const pi, it has to throw error that we only know the first one, we don't know the second one. You understand? So that's how it is. So let's go to data types. So all programming languages have their data types, and JavaScript is not left out. So in JavaScript, we have different data types, and each one represents different kinds of information. So we have the primitive data types, and what are the examples of primitive data types? We have numbers. So numbers comes in form of integers and floating points. So when you say integer, you're talking about 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, that's an integer, or -1, -2, -3. Those ones are integer. So anytime you have your decimal, you have your numbers into decimal places, like 2 decimal places, it's no more an integer. It's called a float, or it's called a floating point number. So, and we also have a string. We're still on that primitive data type. When you say primitive, holds, that means these are data type that has been on ground even before we were born. They've been there. They are old. They are common to all programming languages. So we have so under primitive data type, we have the integer. We have which is the number without a dot. We have the floating point as a float. We have like a decimal point, 2 decimal points, or thereabouts under float. All right, we also have something called string. So string, we have used string in our example. Now, the other time we declared a variable called name, and we call it Mike. You can see that for a variable called Mike, it's quoted. So that's why it's called string. So, and it's because it also starts with it starts with an alphabet. You have to just quote it. You understand? Even if it does not start with an alphabet, if it's not a number, you have to quote it. If it's not a float, you have to quote it. So that is why we are quoting all of this, because they are called string. Now, looking at this, let greetings to equal to hello world. You can see that it's also quoted. So this is like they call it double quotes. We also have single quotes. So, but I'm used to using double quotes when I'm quoting uh, my string or my variables. So, but single quotes will also work, but I will recommend double quotes. Because that's what I'll be using in the class. So let's move on. Let's look at other types, other data types. We have Boolean. So in life, is either something is white or is black. Is either true or false. So that is what Boolean represents. So Boolean data type allows us to say if something is true or if it is false. So looking at this particular syntax, we said let is logged in is true. That means we are saying that user has logged into probably the app is true. So it can also be false. Okay. So let's go ahead and try something. Okay. So let's name be equal to uh, let name be equal to Marianne. Yeah. So let's do. So let's decision be equal to name Marianne. Let's run this. Okay, well, what this one does is that it has assigned the value of name to decision, so that decision is also name. So, but where I'm going, I don't want us to jump. Let's not jump to it yet, so that we don't get confused. So we have the type, data type, other data type as Boolean, and we also have undefined. So undefined means that a variable has been declared but has not been assigned a value. So I would just liken undefined to a baby that has been born but has not been given a name. So what will you call that baby? What name would you call the baby? Is Paulo there? Paulo, what name would you call a baby that is born and is not given a name? Who else is there that will answer that question? Oh, thank you very much. It's going to be called a baby. So what? So it's the same thing that you give to a declaration, a variable that you declare, and you have not given a value. It's called undefined. So let's try it. Let's try it now. Let's say we say let decision. I will now say run. Can you see it? It's undefined. You created a baby and you have not added a name to it. It's undefined. So, and before, the reason why everything will be called a baby, even if it's a girl or a boy or any sex, is will continue to be called baby because it does not have a name yet. The baby does not have a name yet. So, no matter what the variable is, you can say year, let's year, and you now say you want to get the value of year, it will still give you undefined. So because you have not attached or you have not assigned a value to it. So the same time we have what we call null. So what is null? Null just represents that particular variable does not have a value officially. You understand? So if you say something is null, let's come back here. Let here equal to null. Null is a value actually, so that's why we don't expect null this to throw an undefined error because you have already assigned something to it. But the funny thing is that what you assign to it means that year does not have the value. So you have officially confirmed that year does not have the value. So when you run it, it's still going to show you a null because it it has a value, but the value does not exist. Unlike the other time when we use let's here, when we just declare the variable and we have not assigned it to anything, this will be undefined. I hope with that you're able to understand the difference between null and undefined. So can I move on? All right. So let's move on. So now we want to go into operators. Now, just like mathematics, this will be very easy for us. You have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So for addition, we have plus, which is still the same way we do our addition. For subtraction, we have minus. For multiplication, instead of the x, we are going to have it as star. So if you say let's length is equal to 4, let's breadth. The breadth area of a rectangle, breadth is equal to 5. Now say let area be equal to length multiplied by breadth. And let's consolidate the area. All right. So the area should give us 20 because the area is 4 times 5 is equal to 20. So instead of using x, which we are used to, the multiplication sign is this. So, and of course, for the plus 2, when you use a plus here, you can say 4 plus 5, and you click on run, it's going to give you 9. So the same thing goes for minus. So 4 minus 5, that should give you a negative number. Okay, so it should be minus 1. Yeah, minus 1. So that's correct. So we have division too. In this case, we will use the / sign for division. So for division, 4 divided by 5, that should be 0.2. If I'm right, let's see. Oh, sorry, 0.8. So it's going to be 5 out of 40. That's 8. That's 0.8. You can see that all the operators are working very well. So, and we have something we call modulus. So what modulus does is that it returns the remainder. So if you divide if you divide 4 by 5, or let's use a bigger one. If you divide 5 by 4, normal division will give you 1.25. If you now use modulus, what you are trying to do is that you want to know what remains after you divide 5 by 4. So can someone help me? What remains when you divide 5 by 4? Don't type it into the, oh, great, 1. So when you run this, it's going to show 1. What about when you divide 5 by 5? What remains? Arian? 0. Thank you very much. So you can see that modulus is in very is that applicable. So when you in JavaScript you use increment and decrement. So you use plus plus to do increment, you use minus minus to do decrement. So when you increment, you're actually increasing by 1. When you decrement, you're actually decreasing by 1. So instead of going through the stress of saying -1 plus 1, all you just need to do is use the increment. So now let's do something. Let's let's use let's call this increments. Let's call it increments. Now we don't want to know the value of length or increase. Let's call it increase length. So we don't want to know the value of length. All we want to achieve is just to increase the length. So all we just need to do is length plus plus. So if we run this and we want to probably show the value of increased length, all we're expecting is that this length will increase by 1. When you click on run, it's going to be, sorry, okay, increase length. I think let's use length plus plus. I think I have not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. So when you increase, when you say length, you already declared length as 5. So you now say length plus plus. What it will do is that it will change the value of length from 5 to 5 plus 1. That is 6. Let's say the breadth, we want to reduce the value of breadth. Just say breadth minus minus. We want to reduce it by 1. So let's console log the breadth and click on run. You click on run, you're going to have 4. So if you're writing your application, you need to decrement by 1. You just use plus plus, or you use minus. Decrement by 1, you use minus minus. On increment, you use plus plus. So I hope we get that. So this we have done already. So I want you to give me an answer to this. If A is 10 and B is 3, what is A plus B? Someone should type the answer very quickly so that we can move fast. All right, that's 13. What about the second one? Console log. Great. That's 1 because it's when you divide 10 by 10 divided by 3, we give you will give you a remainder of 1. That's great. So let's move. We also have the assignment operator. Now, the assignment operator will let us know, okay, like what we've been doing here, we use an assignment operator. When I say let length equals to 5, so it already gives the value of 5 to length. So the equal to here is an assignment operator. And also when we go to plus equal to, now this plus equal to means that you want to increase the initial value by a particular value. So unlike the other time when we're using length plus plus, breadth plus plus, this is what this means is that you can only increase by 1. But let's say you want to increase length by the value of breadth. So you can just say length, yeah, let's say breadth is 4, right? And you want to increase length by the value of breadth. So what you just do, length will be plus equal to breadth. So let's see, let's comment this out so that it doesn't disrupt. So when you click on run, we're expecting it to be, oh no. Okay. So length plus equal to breadth. Would it be, okay, let's check. Okay, I think it's trying to avoid the use of variable. We want us to use a particular, so we have to use it correctly. So we want to increment length by a particular number. Let's just say 4 and run it. It's going to be not. But what's going on? It should give us 9. Oh, I now saw the mistake. So we are supposed to console log length. We are console logging breadth. So this is supposed to work, I believe. Aha, you can see it now that it's working. So you want to increase the value of length with the value of breadth. So you are saying that instead of saying 5 plus 4, you just say the plus and equal to means that add the value of breadth to my value. So that is what it means. So there's also minus equal to, that means subtract the value of breadth from my value. So if I may ask, what would that give us? If I do minus equal to what is it going to be our value for length? That's great. It will be 1 because it's going to be 5 minus 4, and over there we have it as 1. Thank you. Now there is something. Okay, we'll get there. All right. Now, so it's the same thing for multiplication and division. So if you probably want to multiply this by breadth, so when you say star equal to means I want to do 5 times 4, that will give you 20. And if you want to also do divide equal to, then you want to divide this value by this value, and that should be 1.25. Yes, so the same thing goes for it. So we have just run this. So these are called assignment operator. Assignment operator. Let's go to other one, comparison operator. And this is the place where I want you to be very, very attentive because it's very key. Even if you are probably want to get a job, you are going through an interview. If I ask you what's the difference between the double equal to and the triple equal to, so one is a strict is called strict equal to sign, and the other one is not strict. So the 3 is strict. So let's just try it out and see what is actually going on. So let's say length is 5 and breadth is 5. But this time around, it's not a number, it's a string. It's a string. So we want to know if length is equal to breadth. So say if length, or let me ask you, is length equal to breadth? Just send me a yes or a no, and why. Okay, so what would this give us? Is length equal to breadth? Will this give us a true or a false? It's going to give us a true. Yeah, it's going to give us a true, right? Okay, Israel says it's going to give us a false. Okay, one is string and the other is number. So that means it's going to give us a false. Koti, I think that's what you have in mind. But I will shock you that it's going to give us a true. Yeah. And the reason why it's going to give us a true is because this is not strictly tied. This is not strict. It means that it will strip off it doesn't, it's not affected by the data type. It could be string, it could be number, then it's not affected. So if I ask you this one, let's make it triple equal to, what is it going to give us? What will this give us? Is it going to give us a true or it will not? If then you can say else, uh, else console log false. Okay, so this is going to give us a false. Marianne said yes, right? Marianne, okay. So you are scared of answering the question. So it's going to give us a false or a true. So if I run it, it's going to be false. And why is it going to be false? This triple equal to does not respect the uh, the the string sign or the double quotes. Yeah. So it checks that if it's a string, if they are not the same data type. Remember, this is the data for this is what is a number, which is an integer, right? While data type for this is a string. So when you are comparing with the triple equal to, it will definitely check for the data type. If the data types are different, it's not going to work. So let me now ask you the final question. If you are writing your code, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer the double equal to or triple equal to? Yeah, Miriam said triple. That's good. That is it. That is it. So you can see these are pitfalls of JavaScript that some may not know. And imagine you are working on an enterprise application and you make that mistake. They are not going to forgive you. So please, these are things we need to know. So of course we have not equal to and then not equal to the strictly. It works the same way. So if you say four, yeah, if you say four is not equal to 4, so length 4 is not equal to 4, so it will give you false because it's seeing that both of them are equal. So that's why it's giving you false. But if you say is not equal to, so this one will say this one will tell you the truth and will show true. Yeah, that really 4 is not 4 of and a number is not equal to 4 of a string. So the same thing goes for that. Then we all know the greater than or less than. So let me just briefly ask, is let me change this back to probably 2 so that we can use the greater than sign. So what would this give us? If will it give us true or false? Length is greater than breadth. Great, great. It's going to give us true. All right. So what of greater than or equal to? Will it give you true or false? True. Thank you. Now I want to do something. I want to let's do something. Let's do let's calculation equal to 5 multiplied by 4 minus 20. So tell me what is going to be the value of that calculation. So when you say console.log, I want to know the value of calculation. Yeah, let's put this in comments. So what's going to be the value of calculation? Can someone tell me? 0, right? Okay, what if I now put this minus here? Uh, Times 5 by 5. What's going to be the value of this? I want somebody to give me the answer. I need answers from you guys. I want to know your depth in mathematics. So, 4, Koti, 4. Okay. Minus 11 Israel. Do we have any other answer? Okay, so Koti, you're wrong. It's minus 11. So there's this formula we were taught in school. They call it board mass. Yeah, the board mass teaches us that we give preference when you have all these operators together. You give preference to one over the other. So what's the first thing you have is division. And so you have to carry out division first when you have all of these operators. So when you do 20 divided by 5, it gives you 4. All right, so it becomes 5 minus 4 multiplied by 4. So it has reduced that. What next is multiplication? So you give multiplication a preference and you do 4 times 4. So it now be 5 minus 4 times 4, that's 16. And from here, you can show that the answer is 11. So that principle also goes for JavaScript. You understand? So these are things you must know because it's very important that you have them, have that knowledge. So you can, the other time we made mention of the data types, true and false. So let's see if we can, how we can work with that. Okay, so let's do something on. So I'm going to remove all this so that to give us room to. Yeah. So is 5 is greater than 4. What would this give us? Is it going to give us true or false? 5 is greater than 4. Okay. So really, Marianne, 5 is greater than 4. Then if I'm to give you $50, I would rather give you $40 because 5 is greater than 4. So I think that's. Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking the other way around. 4 is greater than. Okay, is 4 greater than 4? Someone should give me an answer to this. Is 4 greater than 4? False. What about 4 is greater than or equal to 4? What about that? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because when you use or, we're going to get there. When you use or, it's actually if one of the conditions is true, then it's going to be true. So 4 is equal to 4 is true, then it's going to be true. So let's move. So if 5 is less than or equal to 3, it's false because 5 is not less than 3 and 5 is not equal to 3. 5 is greater than or equal to 5 is true because we have or, and with or, if 1 is true, everything is true. So 5 is equal to 5. That is true. So let's move on. So age is greater than, if age is 20 here, and you say 20 is greater than or equal to 18, what will the output be? Is it true or false? Or false? So it's going to be true because 20 is actually greater than 18. Yeah, 20 is not equal to 18, but it's greater than 18. So let's look at logical operators, and this is where we are going. The AND operator and the OR operator. So the AND is used, you call it, there's a name we call this, it's, I've forgotten. So you use this to represent the AND. So the AND operator is this, and you have also a way to represent the OR. So when you say 4 and 4 to return 4, okay, it's true. Now, when you say 5 greater than 3, okay, let's just do this. 5 greater than 3 and 5 less than 10. What will you give us, true or false? It's going to give us true. And when you use and, then both of them must be true. For and, both sides must be true for a true result. So, what if I now make it or? Will that still work? So if we have 5 greater than 3 or 5 less than 10, is it going to be true or false? It's going to be true because one of it is true, so it's going to be true. So for or, uh, one side must be true for the whole expression to be true. So let me try this on the compiler. Run it, it's going to be true because one of it is true. 5 is greater than 3, and 5 is less than 10. So even when we say 13, 5 is greater than 13, 5 is less than 10, you know that this is not true. 5 can never be greater than 13. And also this is true. 5 is less than 18. When we run it, it's going to give us true because one of it is true. But if we put and between them, it's going to give us false because two of them have to be false. I mean, it has to be true for it to be true. So that's fundamental. So let's quickly move. Let's quickly move. So we are done with this. You can see the or operator. For the or operator, at least one condition has to be true. Else, if both of them are false, the or will be false too. So let's say 5 is greater than 13 is false. 5 is less than 4 is also false. And when you put the or sign, it's going to give you a false because two of them are false. In fact, if you use and, you are sure that you are going to get a false because both of them has to be true. So let's move. So we have the not operator too. When you see not equal to, that's not this. So when you say, let's go back and do something here. So when you say 4 is not equal to 5. So what does this give you? 4 is not equal to 5. Is it true or false? Can someone help us? 4 is not equal to 5 is true. Yeah, because 4 is actually not equal to 5. So that is it. So that's where you use or, and even here too, 5 is greater than 3. We now say not. So someone should also help me with this. All right. So what would this give you? True or false? Give you false. Do we all agree that it's false? Great. So when you say 5 is greater than 3, 5 is greater than 3 is actually true. And when you have this not operator, the job of the not operator is to convert every true to false and to convert every false to true. Okay, so so that is it. So let me even turn on my camera if it's necessary. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, so let's continue. So we move to the next one. All right, so let's do a simple exercise. The student is true, as ID is false. So what output does it give us? The student and as ID, true or false? So I want an answer. The student is true, as ID is false. So true and false will give us what? False. Oh, sorry, you've even been sending message. I have to scroll. So what about the second one? The student is true, as ID is false. And we have a or. What does that give us as output? Wow, you guys are hot. So let's quickly move. So let's quickly run through this quiz. Uh, so JavaScript normally used for what? A, B, C, or D? Can you give me an answer? B, thank you. Which command can be used to run JavaScript code in Node.js? Which of these commands? It's a B, thank you. B. Which keyword is used to declare a variable that cannot be reassigned? Const, that's C, good. What is the output of this console log type of 42? Okay, some said A, right? So the output of this type of 42. You're wrong. I think the answer is B. So use that particular let's use that method and see what it gives. Now, you want to know the data type. Of course, we all know that data type, when it's number, it's number. So when you now want to know the data type of a particular figure, the type of 52, 52 from, I mean, 42. 42 from our discussion is a number, right? So when you say type of 42, it should give you a number. So if you say type of true, what does that give you? To give you a boolean. It's a boolean. So if you say type of name, name, what does that give you? To give you a string. You understand? So let's move on. So the answer is B, which is a number. All right. So what does the following code output? A, B, C, or D? A, B, C, or D? I need the correct answer. A. Okay. Now, yeah. Do we all agree to that, Israel? Leon? Yeah, we all agree it's A. Okay. And the reason is because we already created a space here, a space in here. So when you say console log uh, hello, hello worlds, because this will also create a space in it because it's already inside of it. So sometimes you need to, if you want to display all of this, you need to create a space. So if you don't create a space, it's not going to work. So let's say we want to make this hello plus world and run it. It's going to combine everything together because you have concatenated two words without a space. So if you want to introduce a space, you need to put that space here and concatenate the three of them so that it will make a lot of sense. So that's the power of concatenation. So which of the following is not a primitive data type in JavaScript? Answer. All right, that's object. Object is not primitive. Let's quickly move. Which operator is used for strict equality in JavaScript? C, thank you. Which of the following is used for single line comments? C, thank you. Which of the following code prints? Which of the following code prints console log 3 plus 4 multiplied by 2? What's going to be the answer? C, 11. Thank you. So what's the result of 10 equals to 10? 10 double equals to 10. Is it? Oh, you've seen the answer here. Okay. All right. It's true because this is not strictly typed. It's not strict. So it's a triple one that is strict. So what will let x equal 10, x plus equal to 5 give you? That's 15, good. Which of the following will return false? A, A. Great, 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 great. So thank you for thank you so much. I'm glad you guys understand these fundamentals. You will only appreciate these fundamentals when you start writing a very big, when you are very big application. You know that these are very very key. These are the building blocks of big applications. So let's go to control flow and error handling in JavaScript. Yeah, error handling is very key in an application because when you are writing, you're developing an app, you should be able to know if there are errors. You should be able to throw the errors that okay, there's an error here, so the application cannot continue to run because there's an error. But if there are no errors, it's not like having a food in the fridge and probably the food is actually 3 days old and you don't tell the person inside the house that okay, that food is not okay. You understand? That means the other person will eat the food and be poisoned because that food is not okay. So for you to be sure that the food is having the right label, you have to catch the error. You have to show that there is an error with it so that people will not, So it's the same thing for an app. So if you are typing something that is wrong, maybe it's expecting a number, you type in a string, it's going to show you that this is wrong. So, but if you write your app, your code and you are not, you don't give preference to catch your errors, it shows that you are a baby programmer and you cannot write an you cannot develop an app that will be used by the society. So it is very important that we understand how error is being handled. All right. So, but before we go into that error, I think we should go into the conditional statement. We have used some of these conditional statements before, and when you use if, the syntax is if condition, then you execute some stuff, and else if it's condition two, you execute some stuff. So the other time, if you remember, we were saying that okay, uh, let's say length. I don't know if you can go back to our length and breadth codes. So let's move on. So let's length be equal to 3. Let breadth be equal to 5. And now say if and let area be equal to length multiplied by breadth. All right. So and now say if area, when you use if, you have to use the normal bracket. If area is greater than 20, uh, so that's the condition. Then what should happen is console log uh, it's greater. All right. And you now put an else. You also open the bracket and say console log uh, it's not. So if you run this, it will show you that it's not because when you multiply 3 by 4, it's 12, and 12 cannot be greater than 20. So this is how you use your if statement. You understand? So it says that when the condition is correct, showcase it. So when this condition was correct, which is the else, showcase this. If you reduce it, if you say it's less than 20, this condition is correct, showcase this. So that's why it's greater than. So that's for if. Then we also have switch. Yeah, if you are trying to compare many conditions, you would probably prefer to use switch because the switch statement gives you another way to perform conditional operation when you are using a single value against multiple actions. So and the syntax is switch, then you put your expression and you have your cases one after the other. Let's see examples. We said let fruits. So to save time, please give me opportunity to copy and paste it so that we can save time. All right. So looking at this, we have let fruit be apple, right? So what we are doing here is that we are switching. We want to know if any of this tallies with apple, which is a fruit. So if the case is that the fruit is apple, then we'll be able to get the results. So can someone tell me what's going to be the result of this? Which of this will go? Which of this will be console logged? Apple is red because the case apple is equal to what value the fruit is. So the fruit has a value of red of apple. Fruit is apple. So when you put the fruit inside of this place, it will only match with where the value of that property aligns. So that's where we have apple is red. So that's for switch. So and if you use this inside of if, you're going to have very long line of codes. Even though with switch to you have long line of code, but switch has a way of handling the whole thing in a very clear manner in an arranged structure. So so let's move on to loops. Now, you can't do without loops in software development because you always want to iterate if this condition is this, if this condition is that, do it. And the iteration will also have a limit, yeah. So for instance, when you use a for loop, you are able to repeat a block of code multiple times. So as long as the condition is correct, you are going to have that block of code running. So when you do this now, let me remove this. When I say let age equals to 5, yeah, age is equal to 5. So you now say for I equals to for age equals to 5, age minus minus. Let me not confuse you. This is going to be complex. When you look at this, you declare I equals to 1. From I is less than equal to 5, continue to increase I. So I think we should use this as an example so that it will make a lot of sense. So what we want to do is that um, we want to console log the value of I from probably from 0 to 4. We want to console log the value of I from 0 to 4. So an I is actually the initial value of I is what we're going to talk about as I equals to 0. And you say as long as I is less than 5, huh? As long as I is less than 5, increase I by 1. So, and you now do a console log of I. So what we're expecting is that the first time the iteration with the block will be run because I is greater than 0. And as long as I is less than 5, run it. So it's going to give us that 0. But after giving us the 0, I is going to increment here to become 1. When it comes here, I will be 1. As long as I is less than 5, it's going to still show 1 till when we have I to be 5. So when I is 5, it gets here, it checks. Is I less than 5? Then is 5 less than 5? That is false. And that will be the end of that iteration. When I click on run, it's going to show 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do the same when you say I is 5 and I is, you want to stop it at when I is less than 1. That's when I is 0. So you want to do I minus minus. So what this means that you console log I, which is 5. You observe the change in the value of I. I minus minus means that it will be 5 minus 1, that's 4. When it comes here, 4 is less than 1. Uh, what's going to be the result for this? Can someone tell me what's going to be the result for this? How many iteration is going to happen here? Is there going to be any iteration at all? And how many are we going to have? 1, 2. Seriously, 5, 4, 3, 2. I think I would disagree with you. The reason why I would disagree with you is this. I initial value is 5 and I is console logged here. At this point, I has already become 4. By the time you get to this point, I, which is 4, is less than 1. This is going to be false because 4 can never be less than 1. So it's going to stop. But the question is it even going to start at all? Because the initial value of I is 5. And the condition here is I is less than 1 and 5 is not less than 1. So can you try again and give me the correct answer? So is it going to run at all? Is it going to run once? It won't run. Yeah, it won't run because the conditions are not there. It won't run. Thank you, Miriam. So you can see the reason why it will not run. The value of I is 5. And when it gets to this point, 5 is never less than 1. And that terminates the whole process. You understand? So, and it's not going to run. What if I make it like 6? If this is 6, will it run? And how many times will it run? Will this run and how many times? Because there is going to be an issue with this line of code. 6 iterations. So I want to tell that it will be more than 6 iterations because this is going to cause an infinite loop. Let's click on run. You can see it's going to cause an infinite loop. You can see the execution is altered because the condition we gave it is that as long as I is less than 6, it should continue to console log the value of I. And this is a very bad code because there is no way, as long as we have this I minus minus, there is no way it won't cause infinite loop. And you can see that the system, the online compiler, has altered it because the infinite loop can cause damage to the system. So they rather alt it than allowing it to cause issues. So we have to be very, very careful of how we write our code. You know, sometimes some people just write code carelessly and it burns their system. You know, I've had such cases before. And it's possible because when you write a code and it continues to consume logical power of your system, you start hearing noises from your system. You start saying, "Oh, that means your microprocessor is under intense heat." So you have to be sure that you are not writing infinite. You are not going to cause an infinite. Okay, so let's move on. So you all know what this will give us. So I is 1. So I is less than equal to 5 is still 1. So it's going to give us iteration I. So let's do a copy and paste to save our time. Right. So this will run until I is, until I is equal to 6. That's when it's going to stop because 6 will not be less than 5 and will not be equal to 5. So let's run it. You can see it stopped at 5. It stopped at 5. By the time it is 6, this is already false, right? So let's move on. So a while loop also, okay, those loops have a way of working, and it all depends on what condition that you want to that is applicable at that time. So the while has a way of putting the condition first, just like we have the for loop. The for loop will give the condition and run it. So the while is also the same. So when you use a while, you say while count is like in this case, count is 1. While count is less than or equal to 5, console log the count and increase it here. So if you want to know the difference uh, between these and the for, let me place them side by side. Yeah, the difference here is that the I is incrementing inside of the condition here for a for, but for a while, the incrementation is inside of the block. That's just the difference. That's just the difference. So, and also you can see that the initialization of I is inside of the for, while the initialization of this count is outside. So these are the things that you observe. So it all depends on what you actually want to achieve. So in this case, as long as I is less than 5, and less than or equal to 5, going to show the count of I. But there's a condition here. You have to keep increasing the value of count. So it becomes 2. When it becomes 2, you run this, it will still work. It becomes 3. When it becomes 3, you run it, it becomes 4. When it becomes 4, you run it, it becomes 5. When it becomes 5, you run it, it becomes 6. When you become 6, it will stop because 6 cannot be less than 5 and 6 cannot be equal to 5. So let's try and run it and see for ourselves that it's going to end. So you can see that it ended on 5. So don't mix it up. So by the time you start writing your code, your app, you will know where exactly you apply this one. So that's not all. We also have the do while loop too. The do while loop will execute the code at once, so at least once. So that's just the difference between the while loop and do while loop. Now you can see that. Okay, let's make it side by side. So let me copy this so that you have a distinct knowledge of their difference. Now, this other place we use while, we got our answer. But if this other place we use do while. Now, the difference here is that while as the condition on the first line before the block, before the iteration. But when you use do, the iteration comes before the condition. That's just the difference. So the assurance you have with do while is that at all, you are going to have one block, one iteration that will happen. Because that iteration will happen because the condition is actually after the iteration. So you are sure that at least there's going to be one iteration. So let's try and run this. Let me comment this out and click on run. All right. You can see here you have number is 1, number is 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's do something. Let's say this is 6. For this condition, 6 is not less than 5 and 6 is not equal to 5. So it will be false here. But the fact that you are going to run it before you hit this condition, it means that at least this is going to be iterated once. So let's try it. Click on run. You can see we only have number is 6. So it means that the condition has been thrown to the front before you run. Unlike in the while, where you have the condition that's starting with it before the iteration happens. I hope you guys understand. If you understand, send me a thumbs up as we move on. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Has anybody dropped off? Okay, Aaron's there. So let's quickly move on. Yeah, we also have what we call break and continue. In JavaScript, you use break to stop all the, all of the iterations, all of the loop. Just add a break. You want to add a break, so you stop it. So for this code, let me copy this code and paste. Now, what we're doing here is we want to say for I is equal to 1. That's the initial value. I is less than, uh, let me just do this. We are used to this. For I equals to, let I equals to 1. That's the initial value. So as long as I is less than or equal to 5, console log I and increase the value. So what will this give you? You know that the 1 will be console log. When I becomes 2, 2 is less than or equal to 5 is console log. The same thing for 3, the same thing for 4, and the same thing for 5. It will end on 5. So let's run it, and we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you want to add another condition that, okay, when it gets to 3, just call it a day. You understand? So even if it should be able to, even if it runs from 1 to 5, but you want to put a break when it is 3, you don't want it to just continue to run. And imagine we have 15 here. We have 15 here, that means going to be running from 1 to like 14. You understand? Or 1 to 15. So we want to say that, okay, when you get to 3, just break out. Break out. So when you run this, it's going to stop at 2. So it's not going to bother the iteration anymore because it's already uh you know 3. It's already 3. So and when it is 3, it shouldn't even go to this guy. Just break out. That's the break. That's the work of break. Now for continue now we have um yeah, the continue. What it does is that it skips the iteration when it's 3, when it gets there. So one will stop the iteration while the other one will what? Will skip it. So let's make this 15 as it were. It means that when it gets to 3, don't run this guy. Keep it and continue. When it is 4, then continue. So when you run this, it's going to skip 3. I see that I skipped 3 because we have said when it gets, if it is 3, don't let anybody know what is going on. Just keep and continue the iteration. Unlike the break where the iteration stops automatically at 2. All right, so let's move on. Yeah, so what will be logged to the console? Can we look at this quiz? Let num be 10. So if num is greater than 10, so console log greater than 10. Else, if num is equal to 10, console log exactly 10. So tell me which of these conditions will be logged. Yeah, exactly 10. Thank you. So what about this? How many times will this with the following with the for loop executes? Someone tell me how many times? How many times will it execute? Exactly. Yeah. It's going to execute. No, 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 no. I don't agree with you, Marianne. It's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's going to be 5 times. But the 5 times will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 is not included. Exactly. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason is because 5 cannot be less than 5. So when it is 5, it's going to stop. So what's the purpose of breaking this in the statement in a loop? Can you give me an answer? Yeah, B is stop the loop immediately. Thank you. So what will be logged here? I'm sure you have an idea of it. This is a switch statement. You say let color be equal to blue, and we have all of this. What will be logged here? Color is blue, so color we have red, we have green, and we have defaults. Color not found. Do we all agree? Yeah, because there is no blue here, so it will just make use of the defaults. Let's run it on our online compiler and see it's working. Run it and see that color not found because we've not found anything matching. All right. Um, what's the key difference between a while loop and a do while loop? So which of these will be the answer? What's the key difference? All right. Do we have an answer? B. The do while loop execute at least once, and while the while loops may not execute at all. If the condition is not uh, certain from the first line, it's not going to execute. So now let's quickly do something on error handling. There is no way you are working on a project in React or Angular or any of the JavaScript, what's it called? Any of the JavaScript framework or libraries that you will run away from error handling. And if you write your code and you don't handle error, it shows that you are not doing the right thing. Because you should know that people will introduce error into your code. People will type in what they're not supposed to type. There'll be a lot of things even on your own while you are developing. Also, error comes. So you want to know where the error actually comes from. So there's something we call try and catch in JavaScript. So said error handling will let you manage your error gracefully without crashing the application. Because if you allow error in your application, it's going to always crash on development. And when it's crashing on development, you know that you can't bundle such application to production. So instead of allowing error to crash your application, you want to catch that error. That if this error is there, okay, let it be this. If it is not there, let it be that. So that's why we have the try and catch block. We have the finally too. So let's try to put it into work. So inside of the try, you have a code that will not throw an error. That means the code is successfully run. Instead of the catch, you can see that there is an error parameter that is passed to the catch method, and we now have finally. So the finally means that either the code runs or does not run. This finally will run. So with that, you're able to protect your application. So let's try to copy this code. I would have loved to type, but it's going to waste our time, and I still want to cover as much as I can. You know, if possible, I want us to do some coding challenge at the end of the day so that I can and cement what we have learned. So, so I hope we can continue. Yeah, Leon, I've not been seeing your response. Is Leon still here? Okay. All right, I can see you now. Thank you. Yeah. So this want to try out how JavaScript handles a catch and try and the rest. So you can see let x is what be undefined. So x has been x has been tagged as undefined, and you now say console log x to uppercase. Yeah, we have not got to this point. You know, the to uppercase means that you want to convert text from small letters to capital letter. So and so it will, if it is right, it will not throw an error. But it's not, if it is not right, it's going to throw an error. So there are three blocks here. We have the try block, we have the catch block, and we have the finally. So the try block is the successful block where code run normally without an error. The catch block is where the error is actually displayed. And the finally block is will run either it runs successfully in the try, or it runs with it has an error in the catch. This will finally run. So if we run this, is it going to be successful or fail? May I ask you? Now X is undefined. And you remember what undefined means. That means you declare a variable, but you have not given it a value. You have a baby, you have not given it a value. So is this going to throw error? Yes or no? I've seen. All right, Marianne. So it's going to throw error. The reason why it must throw error is because x is not defined. So if x does not have value, then what are you trying to convert to uppercase? If I click on run, it will throw error. It will say that an error occurred. You can see an error occurred, and it shows the nature of the error. That is extracted the message inside of that error. It says cannot read property of undefined, reading to uppercase. And you can see that in this finally, either it's successful or not, this is going to show this code runs no matter what. Now let's give x a value, and let's give it a b c d, and you know it has to be a string so that the uppercase will be applicable. So if we run this, we are not going to have error, obviously. So when you click on run, you can see that the function has worked successfully. It has changed this from lowercase to uppercase. All right, so that will not throw error. Let me ask you, if it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will it throw error? Yes or no? Jesus. Yes, it's a throw error. Israel, it's a throw error. Why would it throw error? Okay, it's not because it's not a string, it's a number, right? So let's try and see if it's going to throw error and what error is it going to show. You can see that it has thrown an error. An error occurred, and from that error it shows the message x dot to uppercase is not a function. Yeah, it will throw that error because to uppercase is expecting alphabets and not numbers. So what we will now say, okay, this is AB45. Again, will this throw error? Leon, will this throw error? Okay, Miriam said no, because it's a string, right? Because to uppercase is a method that is attached to a string, and that is a string. So let's run it. You can see that, yeah, it won't throw error because it's a string, even though it has numbers in it, as long as it is a string. So now there's the last one I want to ask from this segment. Will this throw error? Will that throw error? You have to be sure of your answer. Is this a no or a yes? Okay, it won't throw error. Yeah, it won't throw error because it's already seen it as a string. You understand? So So uppercase can only work with a string, even if the string contains numbers. There is no upper value for numbers. So let's quickly move on. No, it won't throw error. So let's quickly move. So over here, we have here a function, check age. Okay, we have not yet started working with functions, so maybe we would wait for that time. So let's move on. Now there is this is very important. There are common JavaScript errors, and these errors are known. There are three JavaScript errors that you must know. The first one is the reference error. Now, when you are trying to attempt, when you are trying to access a variable that does not have name, that does not have property, that does not have value, it's going to give you a reference error. And we've seen a number of reference error the other time. You understand? Like when we did this, let x means that x has been declared, but it does not have any assignment. When you run it, it's going to give you a reference error. So it might not actually show it here. So let's try to get it now. Let's say let x now say console.log x. All right. So when you run this, okay, it shows undefined. Shows undefined. Yeah, that's the minimum. So let's see how we can get that reference error. So we have this console log. We are attempting to access an undefined value. That's a reference error. The reason why it's not showing like that is because it's not being referenced. So let's do something. Let's say let's be equals to 2 multiplied by x, and let's try to console log b. We don't even know the value of x, so let's run. So this is saying not a number. When you see none, it means that it's not a number. So meaning that you are trying to multiply 2 with unknown property. So we have difference because by the time you start your development in the code, you'll see reference error, probably in React and in some of these other ones, to show you reference error. So when you are trying to refer to a variable that does not have a value, to give you reference error. So we also have a type error. And the other time we're trying to convert a number to uppercase, and that gave us an error. So that kind of error is called type error. That means the data type that to uppercase will use must be a string. Must be a string. So when you use to uppercase, you must use it. You must use a string with it. So over here now, let's say b dot to uppercase. Okay. Let's make it a ball dot to uppercase. We give you capital ball, yeah, but it's you make it number 1 2 3 4. That's supposed to give you a type error. So this error, yeah, it calls the syntax error here. It's actually a type error. Then that type is wrong, so it's not going to work. So yeah, we also have syntax error here too. So if you probably miss up curly braces, and sometimes when you are writing your code, you miss out the ending stuff. Let's say this is b dot uppercase. Let's say okay. In this case, we need to use a block. If um, uh, let's say let a equals to 5. Now say equals to if a is equal to 5, then you now say b, let b equals to 5 multiplied by a, that's 25. Now if we run this, it's going to throw error. Yeah, because B is going to give us 25, and 25 is still a number. So you're going to have a reference error. So all of these things are intertwined. You are, and this is exactly what I was looking for. That it will tell you that you are trying to reference a variable that does not fit into that method. So you also have syntax error, just like I said. So now for the syntax error now, let's say I forgot to remove this. I removed that bracket. I forgot to cover it. So I click on run. So when I click on run, this is going to be syntax error. We can see it that we've generated the syntax error. Are we together? Are we together? I need a thumbs up. Yes. Go, 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 go. Don't disturb. Don't disturb me. Don't disturb me. Sorry, my son is disturbing me here. So yeah, so we are good to go. Let's quickly move. All right. For this quiz now, if the following statement, which of the following statements executes if the condition is true? So which of these will execute if the condition is true? B. Let me increase it. All right. Which other answers? Yeah, if the condition is true, yeah. That's okay. That's okay. That's true. So let's move to this. So let score be 75. If score is greater than 80, then console log excellent. Else, if score is greater than 60, console log good. Else, console log need improvement. So what is going to be the answer? Yeah, it's going to be good because it's greater than 60. All right. Yeah, that's great. Okay. And the last quiz here is which of this is not a valid error type in JavaScript? Mention some error types the other time. Yeah, exactly. D is not a valid type. So I have the other um, note inside of Word documents. So just permit me to open it here. So I want us to run through functions and array, which is important. Then we do one or two uh, coding challenge. Then we call it a day. So we still have some probably 45 minutes to go. Okay, so let me just bring forth the other ones that are not on the. Okay, all right. All right, can you guys see my screen? Let me show. Hmm. If you can see my screen, just send a thumbs up. All right, that's great. That's great. Now let's quickly rush the remaining two parts, and we'll do uh, the coding challenge. Then we are good to go. So let's look at functions and scope. I increase this. Okay. All right, functions and scope. So what are functions in JavaScript? They are usable blocks of code that perform specific uh, task. So it helps us to make our code modular. And that means that when you have a function, you can repeatedly call the function, use the function, and it can be reused. So like if the other time we wrote a function that not a function, we did a calculation. Say let length be let length be equal uh, to 5, and let breadth be equal to uh, 12. So we now say let area equal to, well, sometimes let's use const. Yeah, the reason why we're using const is because it doesn't change. So we can still use const. So the area will be what length multiplied by breadth, right? So the console log the area is going to give you what? You're going to use 60, I believe. Yeah. So now, why do we want to use function? What if we have a lot of calculation to do? Do we have to now keep writing one after the other, and we have a long line of code? No. What we want to do is we want to create a function that will take those parameters and gives you the output. So let's try and write a function for this. Let's try to write a function for this. You can say function. When you're writing function in JavaScript, you call function. You give it a name. In this time around, the name is area. You understand? And it takes a parameter, and you have your curly bracket here. So you can say, okay, length equals let's say let length equal to 5, let breadth equal to 12, then you let area equal to length multiplied by breadth, right? And you want to return area. So in function, you return the results. So how do we get this function to work? What we do is we call the function. You can say console.log. Now, if it were to be variable, we type in the name of variable. But if we are calling a function, you have to type the name of the function and put this bracket in front of it. When you run it, you're going to have 60. Let's be sure that it is the one running. So let's say 5 times 10, we're going to have 50. You can see it. Now, we need to make this function reusable. That means we want to make it like a permanent formula that can be used. You can pass any length and breadth to it. So what we want to do is that instead of having the length and breadth here, let's pass it here. Let's pass the 5 and 10 here. And we'll receive it from here as length and breadth. Now, in this case now, there's something called hard coding in when you're writing your code. Hard coding means that you have given a permanent value to a particular variable. So, and when you add code, what it means is that your code will be rigid. It's not going to be flexible. So in this case now, in this line 2 and line 3, what we have done is that we have hard coded. So we want to remove it so that that function can be used anywhere. So we have removed it now, and we have said let the area be equal to length and breadth. So what we just did here is we have passed the value of the length and breadth inside of this, and when you run it, it's going to give you the result. Let's pass as many values as possible. Let's say this is 3 and this is 1. Let's pass another one. Let's say this is 5 and this is 17. So you can see the power of functions is going to do the calculation one after the other. So the advantage here is that if you are to run this one after the other, if you have to write it out, you are going to have about probably 24 lines or 30 lines. But instead of having those 24, 30 lines, you have actually created a function here that can get the parameters passed to it and return your results. I hope you all understand. If you understand, send me a thumbs up. If you don't understand, let me go over it again. Yeah, I can see Israel, thumbs up. Yeah, Leon has dropped. Leon has dropped. Who else? Yeah, I hope she's gonna join us back. So Koti is no more here. I hope they are all going to join us again. Okay. All right. So that is for function. Okay, Koti, okay, you are here. Oh, okay, great. Then Leon is not here. Leon is not here. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. Now we are getting towards. So this is the fundamental uh, of the function. When you talk about function, that is the starting point of a code challenge. So you'll be asked to write a function that will take some parameters and give you a particular output. So moving forward, I think we're able to abstract a lot of things here. So when you're typing your function, it has to be function name, the name of the function. So the parameters you are passing to it is not compulsory you pass a parameter. The other time we didn't pass a parameter because we have hard coded the values of length and breadth inside the function. And I said that is not a scalable way of writing your code. So you don't have to add code. You have to prepare your function in order to take any form of parameters, right? So that's all about function. So let me okay. Now all of these are just what we have done. So another thing about function is that there's something called ES6. ES6. So ES6 is more like an advanced version of JavaScript. So JavaScript is known to as ES5 or ES15. ES5 rather. So that's a JavaScript that was before 2015 or thereabout. So we have ES6, and what ES6 has brought is that it has made life easy for us in the sense that instead of writing your function, instead of writing your function using a long line, then you can actually use a constant as your function. So how do we go about that? So let's see this. You have this arrow function brought by ES6. So what they're saying is that you don't need to write out a function like we did. So you can actually write it as like you are assigning a constant or a variable. So let's convert this now. Let's convert it. How do we convert it? Let me just comment it out and want to write it another way. So what we do is a const area. So it's more like you're assigning a you're assigning a function to a variable. So which makes a lot of sense. So let's do it. So when you say it's equal to, and you have your parameters. Remember, we have length and breadth, right? And this is where the arrow function comes in. So the arrow function just would do an equal to and a greater than sign. Then from there you have your code. So all of the codes here will be applicable here. So whatever is in the function will still remain the same. But you can see that there is a difference between this and this. So most times the arrow function makes your code a bit more readable, and also it reduces your the line of code. If you are making use of a number of parameters here, it's going to reduce it. So let's see if this is going to work. Oh, it works. So when you're doing your React, you come across arrow function. Yeah, if you use the normal function, it's fine. But if you want to show that you're a modern programmer, you use the arrow function. So it all works the same way. But arrow function is more gives you better readability. What's going on? Okay. All right, that's reset my screen. Yeah, it's an online, it's a free version, so they probably want me to pay. Okay, so that's all about function. All right, so I want us to, okay, the scope, we have talked about scope the other time. So looking at this, we have what we call function scope. We have a global scope. We also have the block scope. So what is global scope? Global scope allows you to declare variable outside of the you know you know at the outside parts of the code, and the variable will still be usable. Let me give an example. Let me give an example. Let's say I want us to go back to that other one. Okay. Let's say we have const pi equals to 3.142, right? And we now have a function called area of a circle. The area of a circle takes in the radius, right? The radius, if I still remember the secondary school or primary school mathematics, now say let area be equal to pi r squared, right? So how do you do that? You say pi multiplied by r and multiply by r. So then you probably want to return it. Instead of having return, you can just say uh, return these results. So okay, I use r. It's supposed to be radius. So radius multiplied by radius. So this function, all this function needs is the radius, the value for the radius, and it's going to help you calculate and return the area of the circle. So let's try and say console.log, and console logging want to pass a radius to area. So let's say area. We want to pass a radius of 4. So what we should expect will be pi r squared, that's 3.142 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4. And when you run it, that should be around 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 12 is 48. That will be 40 something or probably 50. So you can see here it's 50.272. So in this case, I'm trying to give you an example of a global variable. You can see that this guy is outside of the function block. It's outside, and we're still able to use the value. That's the benefit of a global variable. A global variable can be reached even when it is called from a block. All right. So that's global variable. So you can see that variable declared outside of any function or block are in the global scope, making them accessible anywhere in the code. So they can be accessed anywhere in the code. Now there is this other one called function scope. Now function scope means that the variable is only limited to the function. The variable is limited to the function. You cannot call the variable outside of the function. So let's do something now. Let's do something. Let's go back to this. So let's say let's create a function. All right, let's just say function. function pi value, which does not need a parameter. And inside of that, we have this declaration. So mean that pi is actually 1.342, but that pi is inside of the function. The question is, can we actually use it in this calculation? And the answer is no, because it is not in the global position. Let's run it and see. You can see we have issues. The reason we have issues is because the pi is not accessible. The pi is inside of the function, and there is no way this function can reach the value of the pi inside of that function. Even let's even say return, even if we return it, it's still the same thing. It's not going to see the value. So that is what is called a block, a function scope. So variable declared inside a function are only accessible within the function scope. So you can see in this example, you can see this variable says local var means I am local. And outside of here, they try to call it console log local var. It will show that it's not defined because you cannot access the variable that has been declared inside of the function. You can only access it inside of that function. So this console log will work because it's inside of the same function, but this console log will not work because it's going to throw an error. So let's even copy the code and paste. Yeah. Okay, so let me just do a comment this out and copy and paste this. All right, so we have right. Okay, so we want to call out this function. Let's run it. All right, you can see that this function is called correctly. I am local, and the reason why it's called is because it's relating to the value, the returned value in this local scope example. But it's throwing error here. This is why it's throwing error here is because this console log cannot reach this value. But the reason why it's working here is because it's calling the function that already has the value inside of it. So that's why we have it that way. So, but if we have this local var as a in the global scope now, let's even call it that this is local global scope or global. By the time you run it, you are going to have two. This local calls the function successfully, but this local variable is picked from global because it cannot actually reach this. You can see that the difference is it's very easy to actually get the difference. So we also have block scope. We've talked about global scope, we talked about function scope, and this is block scope. So for the block scope has something related to function scope. It means that whatever is in a block only dies within the block and cannot be accessible. So, and when you mention block, the other time we use the if, use the if. So let's use the if again. Let's say if uh, let's say let's declare const, or let's say let's continent let continent equal to Africa, right? So we now say if continent is equal to that's the strictly equal to Africa, right? Then you say you return or you assign a variable. Just say const log equals to I am lucky, right? So else console log equals to, I will try again, right? So, all right, so now let's try to reach the value of console log. So what are we going to have? Let me ask you guys, what are we going to have as the result here? What's going to console log? What's going to be the result of that console log? Going to error? So the question is, why is it showing error? And the answer is not far-fetched. The lock, the variable lock is actually declared inside of a block and is useful only in that block. So anytime you are calling a variable that is inside of a block and you're calling it from the outside, it's not going to work. So the same thing we also experience for functions. If a variable is declared inside a function and you want to call it from outside, it's not going to work. The only variable you'll be able to reach from anywhere is a global variable. So I hope I've been able to explain this correctly. So these are very key in JavaScript. These are foundational knowledge that we must know, because at some point when you handle complex uh, codes, you find out that you keep having issues. You're like, I cannot get this value. I cannot get this value. Of which the value that you are trying to access is inside of a block. So you cannot get the value that's inside of a block. Now, there is a kind of, do we call it a partial solution? And what's a partial solution? There's something we call closure. Closure. But I don't want us to discuss this closure for now. Um, let's go into arrays and let me check the time. Okay, we can do it for 5 minutes, fine. So because it's very key in when you probably go for what's it called, job interviews and whereas it asks what's closure. All right, so let's look at this code and I'll copy it here. Now, who can tell me the value for counter? Yeah, console log counter. All right, so what's counter going to be here? This counter, what will it be? One. So why is it one? Why would it be one? Okay, you might not be able to give full explanation. So now, what let's just look through this. We have a function called create counter, and inside of the function, okay, so and inside of the function does not take any parameter, okay, and we have the initial value to be 0. Inside of the function, we are returning another function, which now depends on the value of the count. The other time we said there's no way you can reach the value of a particular variable that is inside another function. So this is trying to reach the value that is outside of its own function and is incrementing it to 1. And at the end of the day, we're going to have 1 here. So the process of trying to access a value from another function successfully, that process or that particular scenario is called closure. That means there's a closure, there's a communication between a function, between a child function and a parent function. We can call the create counter a parent function and the second one a child function. So the child, just like the mother and the mother breastfeeds the child. So they are close. That's very closure. So the child can still have access to the mother's assets because both of them are in closure. So it means that there is an exception to our to the scope that we talked about earlier, plus scope, the function scope, and the global scope. So even though the function scope will not allow you to reach a value from another function, but with closure, it allows a function to access a variable from the function that is out. So I hope I've been able to explain clearly that you understand. Let me see your thumbs up as we quickly rush down to arrays and objects. Oti, do you understand? Yeah, Israel. All right. Oti, are you there? Yeah, you're okay. Thank you. Marianne, Marianne, are you there? Oh yeah, of course, you have to practice it. So I'm sure this video is being recorded. So with that, you can practice as many times as you wish. So, these are being asked during interviews, closure. So, and once you understand the practical knowledge of it, it's not something you cram. Because some people, they like to cram, let me just cram it. But it's programming. In programming, you don't cram, you practicalize it, and you see the results immediately. And once you see the results immediately, you know it permanently. You understand? So let's quickly move to we are short of time. Yeah, I would have loved us to go through this quiz, but we are short of time. So let's just pick three, probably two or three out of this quiz. Let's pick the first three. So which of the following keywords is used to define a function in JavaScript? Can you give me an answer? Okay, Marianne, I've seen. Oh, the answer is even there. This is all right. Okay, let me. So for this other one, what would be the output of this function? Function greets, return hello world. What will be the output? All right, great. So what is the syntax for defining an arrow function with a single parameter? Arrow function with a single parameter. What's the syntax? Okay, I've seen C, I've seen B. So I think those B and C, they are not correct. The answer is yeah. So an arrow function with a single parameter, the answer is B. Yeah, and why is the answer B? You only have single parameter, so you don't need to, you know, you don't need to put them in brackets. I hope you get it. So let me quickly give us the example. So when we say const area equals to, let's say area is passing, let's say const double equals is taking a parameter A and is going to return 2 times A, right? Return 2 times A, all right? And you want to say a double. I hope double is not a syntax that is known, okay? All right, so most times you have this to be in the brackets, okay? So this const double is a function. I think we should double A will be fine. And let's do console.log. Double, and we pass a variable. Yeah, I now understand why it didn't give. Yeah, this should give us 10. Console.log. So what's going on? We have const double A. Double A, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Israel. So const double A. So what that question we read the other time is trying to say is that if we only have one parameter, we don't need to put a bracket. Just make it, strip the bracket off it. So, and when you run it, it's still going to work. But if you have A and B now, if it is A and B, then you probably want to do B multiplied by A, and you have B as 7 and A as 5. 7 times 5, that's 35. So you are going to put it in bracket. So that makes this answer correct. That's B will not be, parameter will not be in bracket because it's the only one parameter. So let's do the last one. So in JavaScript, which of the following types of scope is not supported? Global scope, function scope, object scope, block scope. Which of these scope is not supported? Wow, great. So let's move to, so let's quickly move to arrays and objects. Then we'll do one code challenge, then we call it a day. Yeah, it's array and object. When you say array, what comes to your mind is that we have elements. You look at a bag. In a bag of fruits, you have pineapple, you have apple, you have watermelon, and you have everything packed in one bag. So you can call that an array of elements that you have elements bundled inside of it. So array are ordered collections of values. Arrays are arranged, and array element starts with 0. So the first index in an array is 0. If you remember in our in the React class, we were trying to delete each record, and we passed the index of the record into the delete function. So we get to understand that the array, the elements inside of array are actually structured in a way that they have numbers. For example, looking at this particular array, we have it as this is 0 position, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So let's create an array now. Let's say const fruits. Yeah, an array is represented inside of a square bracket, and this is apple, pineapple, and orange. So since they are string, I need to quote them: apple, pineapple, then orange. Okay, so let's say we want to console log the elements in position 0. We say fruits, and we pick the position 0. So what's going to be the response to this console log? Can someone type the answer? Oh, great. So it's going to be an apple. So what's going to be the response to this console log? 3? blank error. Okay, you have to be specific. It is undefined. Yeah, because there is no value for it. Anytime you see undefined, that means there is no value given to that particular property. So to give you undefined. All right. So let's move. Yeah, in array, we have a number of functions you can add to an array, you can remove from an array, you can add to the front, you can add to the back, and the rest. Let's quickly do some examples. So when you say pop, what comes to your mind is that you want to remove the last element of the array. When you say shift, what comes to your mind is that you want to remove the first element from the array. And when you do on shift, that means you want to add an element to the beginning of the array and the likes. So let's quickly work on that. And push also, when you push an element into an array, you actually want to increase, you want to add an element to the end of the array. So are we together? So I think it's something we can practice on our own. Well, let me just do something here. This fruits will show all of this. So when you say okay, let's check. So in this example, you do fruits of pop, and the pop method will actually assign this last fruits to, we remove this, sorry, last fruits equals the fruit dot pop. Now, what it means is that this last fruit is equal to fruit array without the last element. So it's going to remove the orange from the fruits and assign it to last fruits. Yeah. So let's do something close to that. Yeah. So we want to get what's it const last, right? Equals to fruits dot pop. Yeah. So when you say last, so this is going to pop out this value for the variable last. So that will be orange. It has picked product. What if you say now you want to remove the first element and you make use of the shift. So you want to remove the first element, you use shift. So it means that this is what you want to, this should be first, right? So this is what you want. So when you click on this, sorry. Okay, last does not exist. We are supposed to console log first. So that is first. You can see it's Apple. So it's going to take the element from that array. Now, even on shift, when you say on shift, that means you want to add to the first, you want to add a new element to the array. So let's try to do that. So we'll say fruits. So this time around, we're going to concentrate on fruits. Yeah. So initially fruit has apple, pineapple, and orange. We now want to say, okay, fruits, we want to add, let's see what they added. So we want to add mango to it. So we create that on shift, and whatever we want to add to it, we put it there, mango. And this time around, we should have 4 elements. Yeah, and this will be at the front. That is the function of the on shift. All right. So of course the pop, if we use pop, we have used pop, all right? We have used shift, we have used on shift, and even map too is there. Remember, we have used this map severally. During the tutorial, we use the map. Then the filter tool, we use it when we want to remove some information from the array. And we also use the reduce function. If you remember, we use it to multiply the items. We use to multiply, to add the items on the invoice application. So we use it at a high level, that's in React, because it already has a trace to JavaScript. So this is the base level. So when you use it at the base level, you can easily apply it to applications. So for someone who has not gone through the React invoice app development, you ask yourself that what is the meaning of reduce? What do you want to use reduce for? But by the time you now do real life coding, you are going to discover that reduce will help you to calculate the total number of items, but just a single line of that code will do a calculation of all the items that you have bought. So that is why it is very important that we work on the fundamental programming language. We have a very strong strong knowledge of JavaScript so that we can thrive well when we are using any of the JavaScript framework. So far, I hope you understand. I hope it has not been so stressful. I hope it's exciting. So let me see if you have any questions so far. Then we do one coding challenge, and we call it a day. All right. All right. Let me hear from Marianne, from Koti. Yeah. Okay, understood. Yeah. Does anyone have an account on Lit Code? Lit Code. Lit Code. Okay. Okay, Marianne. Yeah. So I will encourage you to open an account on litcode.com. It's free, and it will I do, but I haven't been using it. So you have to start using it now, because in our next class, we are going to ask you how many coding challenge have you solved. Are you with me? You are going to tell me how many coding challenge have you solved on Lit Code. And the only way to keep the fire burning with JavaScript is you laying hands on as many code challenge as possible. And those platforms have made it very easy for you to attempt codes and to attempt challenge, and you can do it over and over again until you get it, and it will help you sharpen your knowledge of JavaScript to the core. And I've got to understand that even Google recruits through Lit Code. All they do is you discover that they don't really announce their vacancies. They know where to go when they want to get interns, or probably when they want to get staff or developers. So they check the Lit Code. They said, okay, this guy has done about 100 Lit Code questions, and it's okay. We can invite him for interview. We can invite her for interview. So, but for now, like I said, just attempt the easy ones. So attempt the easy ones. Don't go for difficult ones first. You attempt the easy ones, and at the end of the day, you keep building confidence that will help you to attempt the major one. So I want to quickly create a code challenge, a problem that we have to solve. It's going to be very simple, and it will look like what what will be coming across on Lit Code. And so now let me copy this question. Okay, I'll use a blank. So it comes in this form. I hope we can all see it. So it's an easy category. So I want us to start from the scratch and move on. So the title is Find the Missing Number. And you are given an array containing n distinct numbers taken from the range 0 to n, that's n inclusive. Since one number is missing from the sequence, your task is to find and return the missing number. So now, let's, for example, let's look at this. Yeah, what's the missing number here? Let's just give answer. The number is missing here in this array. You have 301. Can you send me the missing number? Are you guys with me? Yeah. So the missing number is 2. Very good, very good. So it's supposed to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is 0, 1, 3. So they skipped 2. So it can come in various forms. We can have 9, 9, 8, 6, or 5, 4, 3. You understand? It can even be longer than this. And you know that the missing number here will be, let's say we have 7. You understand? It might even be scattered. 8, 9. So this is 3, 4, 5. There is no 6. We have 7, 8, 9. So what's the missing number here? What's the missing number? So are you guys there? So what's the missing number here? We have 8, 7. Or is it tiny? So what's the missing number here? 8, 7, 5, 4. Yeah. So the missing number is 6 because we have 3, 4. Did you say 6 or 26? Yeah, 6. We have 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. So it's missing 6. So now the question is, we need to write a JavaScript code that will accept every form of array and return the missing number. That means we are writing something like an algorithm that will check and return, just like the way we type into ChatGPT, it returns the answer like, what's going on? There's an algorithm that's actually handling such a thing. So I want us to write the code now and and see how we can actually solve this problem. Then from there, I will ask us to continue on lead code. So now let's write a function. Because when you are solving code challenge, it's all about function. So you want to write a function. What name would you call the function? You can call it a missing number. That's the name of the function. And remember that function will receive what? An array. So that's an array of numbers. So remember, we are writing a function, so we don't want to add code. We want it to be able to accept any form of input and give us the correct output. Yeah, so we have there. So we're going to have the number here, and we want to know the length of that number. There's a JavaScript method that we use to get the length of a number. So we say let's n can be the length of the number. So let n, the length of the array rather, array dot length. Okay. So we want to get, because the reason why we want to get the length is that we will be looping through these elements. You understand? And it is only when you loop through, like if you want to solve this problem manually, what you do is you write 8. The next thing you see is 7. You put 7 before 8. The next thing 5. You put 5 before 7. The next thing 4. You put 4 before 5. The next thing 3. You put 3 before 4. The next is 9. You put 9 after 8. After that, you now say, okay, this is 3, 4, 5. You'll now be able to see that it is 6 that is missing. That's the same thing we want to do with this function. So now, okay, I believe you are strong, so you'll be able to understand this. So let's so now that we've calculated, we've got the length of the array. Like in this case, the length is 6. That means we have 6 elements in the array. So the next thing is that we are looking for an expected sum. You know, this will be a bit complex. If you don't mind, let me change the question. Let me change the question. It's a bit complex. I don't want you to start with a complex example. We should move from simple to complex. So let me try to get another question. Okay, so let's can you remember the quadratic formula? Can you remember the quadratic formula? That's also a complex one anyway. So let's do something. Okay, let me do something very simple. Now, you want to let's say you want to count the number of of 2 in a particular array. Let's just use that. That's a good starting point. Count number. So count number 2. So now let's add this 2. Let's put 2 here. 2. This will be simpler as an example. So I want to count the number of 2. The number of 2 in this array is we have 1, we have 2. 2 appears 2 times in this array. So what we now do is that for us to count, we need to set a counter. Let's counter be equal to 0. You know, 0, it means that you have not started counting. So there is the number of 2 in the array is 0. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to loop through this particular array. And how do we go about that? We want to get the number of elements here first. So let n be equal to the array dot length, right? We've got the length. Now we now say for. Remember we used a for loop the other time. For I equals to 0. When you see for I equals to 0, what it means is that you want to start from the first element here. That's why you say for I equals to 0. Now, you need to also limit in order to avoid infinite loop, if you remember the other time, you need to give it the condition that as long as I is less than n. Remember that the total number of elements here is 6. And I is starting from 0. I must end on 5 so that we can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and we now have I plus plus. I plus plus means that I will increase. So starting from the first element here, we move to the second element. This I equals to 1 here, I equals 2 here, I equals 3 here, I equals and I equals 5 here, and it will go beyond 5. So what do we want to do when we come across each of them? We'll now say if the position I, if it's equals to 2, what you do is you do counter plus plus. That means if you come across any of the element value equals to 2, increase the number of counts. So if it's 0 before, increase it to 1. And at the end of the day, you must return something in the function. And what do you want to return? You want to return the what? The counter. So we are done with our function, but let's test it if it's going to work or not. Let's say console.log. What's the name of the function? It's count number 2. Count number 2. And this will take an input called array. So let's put this array inside of it. You understand? It's more like we are passing the value inside of the array here. And this, what answer are we expecting? Can somebody type in the answer we're expecting for this count? Yeah, answer we're expecting for this count. How many tools do we have here? Are you guys there? Yeah, that's 2. So let's see if our function is running perfectly. And click on run. You can see that we are getting the results. So the answer is 2. So this is just a starting point for writing function. So you can pass as many parameters into it, as many variables into it, you are going to get the same result. So this category is the simple category. So you can lay your hands on lead code and do more. So the advantage of this is that I can have another set of array, let's say -2, 5, 3, 2, 7. You understand? So these are new sets of array. So even if the array has 1,000 elements, the function is going to count the number of 2. So I've added another 2 here, making 1, 2, 3. So if I run it again, it's going to give me 3. You can see it has counted it as 3. So if you are excited and you think you have gained something in this class, so let me see your thumbs up. If you have any questions, please drop your questions. And, we are within the 3 hours designated for this class. And I think it's just 5 minutes to go for us to, because we started 9:20, right? Yeah. And by God's grace, we've been able to, successfully deliver all of the JavaScript fundamentals, and we're able to also run a code challenge, even though it's simple. So if you have any questions, please type in your question. So far, if you are clear, everything has been made clear, you gained something, send a thumbs up. Yeah, thank you, Koti. Yeah, thank you for your time. All right, Marianne, over to you. I hope those who are not here will be able to get the recording of this class. Thank you so much. Over to you, Marianne.